Parshas Vaeschanan, Perek Daled, Pasuk Aleph, contains the words, and we'll say it in context in a minute, contains the words, Laman Tichyu, so that you may live. What does that mean? That's what we want to know. What does Laman Tichyu, so that you may live, mean? It sounds like kind of a simplistic question, because we know what it means to live. Okay, let's read it now in context. V'ato Yisrael, shemala el hachukim ve'el mishpatim asher nochim elamed eschem la'asos. Now, Israel, listen to the laws and the statutes that I teach you to do. Lama'an tichyu, so that you may live, uvasem, and you will arrive, v'rishtem es ha'aretz asher Hashem Elokei avosechem nosen lachem, and that you may possess the land that the Lord your God, the Lord, the God of your fathers, gives to you. What does Lama'an Tichyu mean? So that you may live. How does observing the laws and the statutes, listening to the laws and the statutes, Shema, how does that cause one to live? People listen to the statutes, and they do the statutes, and they die. And people who don't listen to the statutes live. So what does Lama'an Tichyu mean? So the Netziv, and I have to give credit to my son-in-law, Meir Simcha Stromer, for showing this to me. The Netziv says that there are two meanings to the word chai. There's physical animation, and then there's the emotional satisfaction, gratification that a person gets from living his life to the fullest, to have shleimus. I'll read the language of the Netziv specifically. He doesn't say it here, he says something else here. But he says in Bereshis, on the pasuk that says, Vayitzer Hashem Elokim es Adam ofar min Adama vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim vayadam lenevesh chaya. Hashem, God, formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. A living soul. And the Netziv comments that there are two types of life, or two meanings in Lashon HaKodesh, in the Holy Tongue, in Hebrew. Chai can mean alive and not dead, in contradistinction to dead. And the other is chai velo atzev, alive and not sad. V'haino, and this is the language of the Netziv, shehu betachlis hashlemus she'efshar ba'osa bria, that he has achieved the greatest fulfillment that that person possibly can. So there's a notion of life, of chayim, that is separate from simple animation. And although that's not simple, not being physically dead is not a simple matter, but the Netziv says that there are denotations. There's a denotation to the word life, which means a sense of fulfillment from living life fully. Here the Netziv says, V'chama pa'amim demashma'us chai, kama pa'amim hu alizat hanefesh va'oneg shemesig b'hagio l'tachlis shleimuso. A delight, what we might call nachas. Nachas from yourself, from living life to the fullest. How do you do that? So this is what the verse says. V'ato Yisrael shma lachukim ve'lemishpatim asher nochim elamed eschem. Listen to the laws and the statutes that I teach you. Notice that the language is not mitzaveh eschem, That's in the next verse. Lo tosifu al hadavar asher anochi mitzaveh eschem. Don't add to the thing that I command you. The verse that we are discussing in Pasuk Daled is talking about milamed eschem. Milamed is teaching. In other words, being engrossed in the study of Torah, in Shema, in listening to the lessons of the Torah, gives a person fulfillment. Following the mitzvos gives a person fulfillment. Now we see this use, once we understand this use of the term chai, we can understand several other verses, such as La'olam lo eshkach pikudecha kivam chi sani. I will never forget your commandments because in them I live. Now again, we've observed, and these questions are the questions that the Netziv asks, a person can be physically alive without following the Torah or remembering the words of the Torah. What this refers to is a sense of profound satisfaction, self-satisfaction from living, which is one who is immersed in the Torah and learning the Torah. We have another verse from Tehillim, Mo ahavti torasecha kol hayom hi sichasi. How I love the Torah. It is, I talk about it all day. In other words, this feeling of love is the sense of animation that a person gets from being fully engaged in something that resonates with him. The Netziv points out, Tzaddik, the verse in Habakkuk, Tzaddik be'emunaso yichyeh. A righteous person lives with his emunah. What does it mean, lives with his emunah? Well, it could mean that while he's alive, he has emunah, but it also could mean that his emunah gives him a chiyus, gives him a sense of animation. In Pirkei Avos it says, Marbe Torah, marbe chayim. If you increase Torah, you increase life. What does that mean? It's hargoshos, it's the feelings and the sense of, in other places, Lintzib says, aliz, person is delighted. And he explains that concerning in the tefillah of Shabbos, in the Shabbos davening, the phrase is To'ameha Chaim Zachu. The people, those who taste Shabbos, have merited life. Again, life meaning a sense of fulfillment and meaning. Now, what does that have to do with entering Eretz Yisrael? So it's obvious for a Jew that the place where you get the most satisfaction out of being a Jew and the most satisfaction out of life and Torah and observance of mitzvos and the life of a tzibur as a community and the life of a yachid is in Eretz Yisrael, is in the place that is custom made for the Jewish people and for the chiyus, for the animation and the satisfaction that a person gets from life as a Jew. We're coming up to Shabbos Nachamu, and we have many nevuos, many prophecies of the return of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. Some of us are already there. Some of us are not there yet, but we all hope to be there. And we all hope to be there and to be alive as Jews in our land. Have a good Shabbos.